We have a trade surplus, sir.
A massive trade surplus, correct?
Yes, Senator.
So when President Trump imposed tariffs on Brazil, saying, I'm doing this Liberation Day tariff because nations are ripping us off, we sell a lot more to Brazil than they sell to us. Yesterday, we put a 25% tariff on Brazil, and they say they're going to reciprocate against us. If they reciprocate at 25%, who loses more, the U.S. or Brazil?
Thank you for the question, Senator. Obviously, this is a new tariff that was implemented yesterday at some point overnight while I was asleep.
Yeah.
I did read the articles this morning.
Yeah, and you've had nothing to do with it.
And USTR has made their decisions. I will learn more about it over the next several weeks.
Okay, well, let me
I'm
just, I'm just going to say mathematically, if we have a trade surplus with Brazil, that means we're selling more to them than they're selling to us. If we put a 25% tariff on them and then they put an equal tariff on us, it's the United States that has the most to lose. So we'll not only see inflation go up on products coming from Brazil, but the tariff put on U.S. manufacturers because we sell more to Brazil than others is going to hurt our own businesses more than Brazil's businesses will be hurt. I yield back.
Senator Kaine, Senator Van Hollen.
Thank you, Senator Rosen. And let me just say at the outset that I share all the concerns expressed, Mr. Mastriano, by my colleagues about your past record and conduct. I'm going to focus my questions here to Ambassador Blom, and I appreciate the chance to get together with you yesterday. And I want to start today with the issue I started with yesterday, which is Syria. I think, Mr. Ambassador, we both agree that the current moment holds promise, but it's also very precarious. Is that a quick summary of where we are?
That is accurate, Senator.
And I was glad to see the administration lift the state sponsor of terrorism recently as part of the NATO summit. And as you know, Senator Shaheen and many of us worked to lift the sanctions on Syria here, and I assume you support all of those actions.
Yes, I do, Senator.
And I will say that when we lifted those sanctions, we included report language making clear that we believe that success in Syria requires that the government include elements from all parts of Syrian society, Alawites, Kurds, Druze, Christians. You would agree that the success of the future of Syria depends on making sure all those groups are included in its governance, would you not?
Absolutely, Senator. It is a multi-ethnic society.
I will say, you know, the late Senator Graham and I spent a lot of time together making sure that the United States did not abandon our commitment to the Syrian Kurds, the SDF, because they have been the tip of the spear with us in the fight against ISIS. Isn't that right?
That is correct.
So one of the concerns that was raised in this sort of shaky moment was the continued presence of Israeli forces in Syria. And I think that there's been a sense within the administration and elsewhere that is not a productive thing to happen, to continue that presence in southern Syria. Is that a fair statement of the administration's concerns?
I think that is certainly one of the concerns that we have to address going forward. Yeah. Yes, Senator.
And isn't it the case just within the last 24 hours, President Trump asked Prime Minister Netanyahu to remove Israeli forces from Syria?
I'll let President Trump's statement speak for himself, but I think it's an issue on which we've been engaged diplomatically, and we'll continue to be engaged diplomatically.
Well, I'm just reading from an article here where it's reporting that the president said to Prime Minister Netanyahu, you should redeploy out of Syria. Do you have any reason to dispute this article?
Absolutely not.
Okay. Let me ask you about the situation in the West Bank, because we've seen a continued rise in settler violence against Palestinians, working to push Palestinians off their lands. With this very extremist Netanyahu government, we've seen the complicity of the IDF in certain cases in pushing Palestinians off their land. What I want to ask you about specifically is nine American citizens who've been killed on the West Bank, either by settler violence or Israeli security forces just in the last 4 years. And I would, Madam Chair, like to just put into the record a letter that 31 senators sent to Secretary Rubio on March 5th on this topic.
Without objection.
Thank you. Are you aware of these deaths, killings of American citizens on the West Bank?
Yes, Senator, I'm aware of these cases.
Are you aware of the fact that there's been no accountability in any of these cases?
Senator, I believe that while we have to condemn any kind of acts of criminal violence in the West Bank from any party, we have a special obligation to follow up and ensure accountability and transparency in the case of American citizens. And if confirmed, it will certainly be a priority for me.
I appreciate that, because the letter we received back from both from Secretary Rubio on behalf of Secretary Rubio said the same thing, that the #1 priority of U.S. representation overseas is to protect U.S. citizens. But we have had no accountability with respect to these cases. And finally, I just want to raise with you a case that I mentioned yesterday. As we speak, we have an American citizen, Sama Safi, 20-year-old student being imprisoned in Israel, American citizen. Are you aware of her case?
Senator, I'm not aware of the specifics of that case.
Okay. Well, she has spoken about the abuse she's experienced. This is a trumped-up political charges against her, and I hope the U.S. government will work really hard to get her release, and I hope that happens between the time of this hearing and the time we consider these nominations on the Senate floor. Thank you, Senator Rosen.
Thank you. Senator Shaheen.
Thank you, Senator Rosen. I want to follow up on Senator Van Hollen's questions about Syria and agree to applaud the commitment to lift the state sponsor of terrorism sanction against Syria. That has not yet happened, though the administration has indicated that they intend to do that. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Do you have any idea what the timeline to do that will be?
I believe from the date of the notification, there's a 45-day period required before it takes effect.
Okay, so we should see that happen sometime in the next month or so.
Yes, Senator.
I appreciated your comments and Senator Van Hollen's about the importance of power sharing in Syria with the various members of Syria's ethnic groups, with women in that country. There has been progress made